Roy Jones Jr. says he would rather see Deontay Wilder win than see Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. Let's talk about it in this video. King Jr. got another video for y'all. So, Roy Jones Jr., he recently commentated the fight between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua a few days ago. And now Roy Jones Jr. is saying that it would be a great fight to see undisputed heavyweight match between Alexander Usyk and Deontay Wilder, because I think it would be an interesting fight, a boxer puncher versus a pure boxer, even though I got to make a whole nother video about it. I'll just give a little bit of specific details. Even though Alexander Usyk does have a high chance of losing that fight, but I'm not going to underestimate Alexander Usyk and his skill. But anyway, Roy Jones Jr., I can totally agree with him on this point, that he would rather see Usyk and Wilder than Fury and Usyk, because it's a boring fight if Fury and Usyk fight. And what makes that fight so boring is you got two pure boxers that has plenty of skill. Well, a cheater boxer versus a boxer that has pure skill. It'll be a very boring fight, and if the heavyweight division gets boring, so as all the other divisions. So anyway, I would rather want to see Usyk and Wilder than Fury and Usyk, even though Roy Jones Jr. said he's not taking nothing away from Fury, he would just rather see Usyk and Wilder fight because it'll be an interesting fight. Because you guys got to remember, Roy Jones Jr. had all that talent. He had all the talent in the world, and he had the skill, and he had the style to please a lot of people. I didn't like that style Roy had because it was bad on defense. We seen later on down the line how that style got exposed, and he got through 70 some fights with it, and even though he took 9 losses, he got through 70 some fights. Now people say that Roy could have been undefeated if he would have never got cheated. Forgot the guy's name that they said he hit in the back of the head and stuff like that, and knocked him down on the ropes. I forgot that guy's name, but Roy was a great fighter back in the day, but now, y'all remember I made a video a while back saying that Roy Jones Jr. Didn't like arrow spins. He didn't fault nobody. Well, I'm still kind of mad about that a little bit, but I ain't gonna knock Roy for it much longer. But I'm not gonna keep this video too long. Point of the matter is, Roy Jones Jr. would rather see an interesting fight, such as Wilder and Usyk, than rather see Usyk and Fury, because it's a boring fight. If you think about it, you got two pure boxers in the ring. It's going to be a high-level chess match of who's got the higher ring IQ, which I think Alexander Usyk has a better ring IQ than Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury has a somewhat of a ring IQ and he uses his size very well. So that's what makes it for a boring fight, But I would rather see Usyk and Wilder because I know this is for all the marbles. This would be interesting to see a boxer puncher versus a pure boxer. It'd always be interesting to see those matches. I like Alexander Usyk. That dude got my respect fully. He put on a show being one of the top heavyweights in the division. And Anthony Joshua is not elite. Y'all remember when Anthony Joshua says that Deontay Wilder isn't elite? Well, you damn sure near is not elite, because you just lost against a guy that was smaller and that weighted less than you. Even, let's say Anthony Joshua weighs 230, okay? Anthony Joshua is still going to lose that fight. Let's say he weighed 250, 260 pounds. He's going to run out of gas much faster than people think. So, I'll have to go into more detail when we get to the second fight between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, but that's a whole nother video. Last time recapping, guys, Roy Jones Jr. says that he rather see Wilder win than see Fury and Usyk fight because it's not an entertaining fight. Let me guys know what you think. Do you think Roy Jones Jr. is right? Do y'all rather see Wilder versus Usyk or Fury versus Usyk? I think Fury versus Usyk is an okay fight, but it's not nothing crazy. I think Wilder versus Usyk is an interesting fight, because Usyk wants all the smoke. Even though Usyk took the route of wanting the more belts, he had a chance to fight Deontay Wilder, but Usyk's like, nah, you know what? Let me go ahead and this route first, and I'll see Wilder next. So maybe Usyk was not ready for Wilder. Maybe he didn't have his game plan, because Usyk does get touched up. He does get bruised easy. But I think Usyk will have a game plan at max tops. I think if I had to give a prediction on how long Usyk will last against Wilder, this new Wilder, if he looks pretty good, I'll say people got it 6 rounds tops. I don't have it 6 rounds. I think Usyk can go 10 rounds because Usyk shows that he has great stamina, but I don't think he's going to be able to use that bike and use that lateral movement for 10 rounds because Usyk is not athletic as a Deontay Wilder. But this is just prediction. I think Alexander Usyk is a great fighter, but I give Alexander Usyk 10 rounds top to Deontay Wilder, and I think Deontay Wilder will wind up catching him with that right hand because Usyk does use a lot of lateral movement. He tried to get low, but Deontay Wilder does have the ability to punch downward, and if Usyk goes low, Deontay will eventually catch him in the long run. So that's my video, guys. Let me know what your thoughts in the comments about Roy Jones Jr. and his thoughts about how the fight's gonna go, whatever or not. Would y'all rather see Usyk in Fury or Wilder in Fury? Let me guys know. Well, it is what it is. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. This is your boy King Jr. I'm out of here. Peace.